Again. Hello, hello. Wait for folks to get in here because let's have some fun today, shall we? Yes, let's have some fun. And why does it say it's scheduled? Okay. I'm here. We're here. Yes, yes, yes. So we're gonna take this however it goes. Yeah. I'd like to share some information that I have um, recently discovered, kind of put together, and it ties in with the book that I've been reading. And it's so exciting. A lot of Edgar Casey information and healing techniques that I have this one of these healing techniques that I had started doing that I had learned from Edgar Casey, and I'd like to share it with you guys. Yes, so I know this is last minute. There you are, Miss Amy. Hello. No, it's hello. Hello. You've been asking for healing. Your wishes come true. Can you hear me okay? I didn't set my volume thingy at all. um, so, can you hear me, Miss Amy? I know we have a little delay there. Great. Okay, so I want to do this really, really great energy technique that I have started doing. Really powerful. I have, I enjoy it. So, Miss Amy, yes, you were the one that kept pushing me. So I am here. I am here for that energy technique that you have asked for. So, I don't want to start too soon because I don't want to have to get to re-explain myself, and then also too talking about the different lives. No problem, Miss Amy. You know I love you. Um, the different lives of Jesus as examples to show how perfectly aligned you are. You are at a spiritual retreat. Are you going to be able to have time to do this? Congrats to you for going to the spiritual retreat. Now, are you in Scotland? Did you make it up to the Highlands? Or is this in your local neighborhood? Well, hello, Ajaya Bartley. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I hope I said it correctly. So, okay. So, after we ground ourselves, it's nuts here in the Wales. They're all, I hope, crazy in a good way. Hello, Bluebird. Hello, Laundry. Um, well, thank you. Um, I hope they're crazy in a good way. Oh, great. I said it correctly. Hello, Felix. Okay, so, hello, Miss Risa. Welcome everybody. So those that want to do energy healing technique, before I start talking about how spiritually aligned and perfect you are, and you are not a mistake, you are right where you're supposed to be, and everything that you have gone through prepares you for today. Thank you. Welcome to all the subscribers that have newly subscribed. Everybody, take the time, hit that thumbs up because you know you're going to love what you're going to hear. And you can't hit that thumbs up when you got your eyes closed because you're meditating and focusing, right? Right. Okay. So, after we do our grounding, when we ground ourselves to the earth and when we connect ourselves to our higher selves, surround ourselves with light, um, I learned this technique through Edgar Casey, listening to some of his teachings and so forth. And it's what was really, really great about it is the way that we've been doing our healing energy techniques. It's like very similar to what this is, and we have already been doing it. So we're going to be sending white light. And we're going to do generational healing. Okay? Generational healing. Time is a facade, if you want to say. Everything really and truly is happening all at the same time, correct? For those who believe or understand. And remember, all of this is for entertainment purposes only. Um, we are all on this life soul journey together, having human experiences, God, divinity in physical form. Okay, so after we ground ourselves and connect, what I want you to do now, and the reason why I'm saying it now, is I want you to think back to the furthest back in your family line of a family member that you know, as far back as you can go. Okay. Um, and what we are going to do is we're going to do generational healing. Um, and so I'm going to give myself as an example. And my furthest back that I can think of, let me see if I can turn off the, nope, 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 that's the wrong button. That's wrong. I don't know if I could, well, I'm going to try to ignore it. Okay, so never mind. All right, so my example, the furthest I know of in my generation, my family line, is the last slave in my family. His name was Peter Carroll. Okay, I learned this information from when I did a genealogy search in my family, and so that's the furthest back that I know of a name in my family line. Now, for me, Peter Carroll married Dicey Blankenship, then became Carroll. So Dicey Blankenship Carroll. So for me, my focus is Peter and Dicey Carroll. And this would take me way back to, like I said, with slavery times. Okay. When we get to this point, what we're going to do is we're surrounding them with white light. Okay. And we are sending healing to them, because the number one issue that we have in our bodies and in our lives is unforgiveness, lack of love. And for my family line, there's a lot of unforgiveness, and unforgiveness shows up in physical dis-ease, heart conditions, illnesses. The body is created out of love, and when you are operating in unforgiveness and hatred and feelings and thoughts that are not of love, it then creates dis-ease. Okay, so trust this process. The way that we normally, when we send with our intentions, we send to the hearts of every soul upon this earth, we're going to micro focus it to your family line. And then with that individual, as far back as you can go, sending healing to them, and that it comes to, for me, it comes to my family line and the future to come. And then after I did that, I focused and I sent the healing energy to the generations before them. So really focusing on my family line, you will really be focusing on your family line. Okay, so if there are no questions, let's start doing our deep breathings, and we're going to breathe in and out through your nose, and you're going to release it through your nose. Okay, we are just focusing on our breathing at this point, clearing, relaxing, and let us go. We're going to start with deep breaths, and then we're going to ground ourselves. Hold it for a sec, and you release it out slower than what you breathed in, because you're slowing your heart rate down. Breathe in, hold it, and release it slowly through your nose. And one more time on your own. Breathe in. Now we're going to focus on our red root chakra, the chakra that is at the base of your spine. And we're going to imagine the red root chakra going to the earth like roots all the way to the center of the earth, connecting, spreading throughout the earth like roots, grounding ourselves. Now we're going to bring that energy back up, all the way up to the center part of ourselves. And now we're going to continue on up. Imagine a white light going all the way up to the higher aspect of yourself. Connecting with divinity, the higher aspect of yourself. And we're going to bring that energy back down. Imagine that white light coming back down to the center part of yourself. Now we're going to expand that white light all around us. A white light bubble all around yourself. The white light that is you, the creative white light that you are, you're expanding it around yourself. All in the most benevolent way. Now, imagine you're going to think of the family member that is the furthest in your line. And for me, it is Peter and Dicey Carroll, the last slaves of my family that I know of. And I'm surrounding Peter and Dicey Carroll with the white light. Surround the furthest family member that you know with white light. Surround them. I send white light to the center parts of Peter and Dicey Carroll. And I send the intentions of forgiveness within that white light. Forgiveness, the intention to forgive, the understanding to forgive, the desire to forgive. I send white light to the minds of Peter and Dicey Carroll. I send the white light to the hearts of Peter and Dicey Carroll. Healing white light to the depths of the heart with the intention of forgiving. The desire to forgive. Forgive others. Forgive yourselves. Forgive. Forgive on a spiritual level. For everyone is having a spiritual beings in human bodies having a human experience. And we send forgiveness. I send white light to the womb of Dicey Carroll, the woman who was mistreated, the woman who had children taken away, the woman who lost children. I send white light to the womb, healing white light with the desire to forgive, the intentions of forgiveness, white light. I send white light to the hands of Peter and Dicey Carroll for the work that they performed, the labor. I send white light and healing and forgiveness. I send white light to their bodies, to the backs of Peter and Dicey Carroll. White light of healing, white light of forgiveness, to the work that was carried on their backs. I send white light to their feet For the feet that carried them each day, I send healing. I send the energy of forgiveness. I send white light. I surround them in the white light of healing energy, of love. And I imagine the two of them embracing each other in the healing between the two of them. I send white light to healing relationships between the two individuals that stood together in hard times. I send white light. I send healing energy. I send forgiveness. I send compassion. I send understanding. I send love, healing, wholeness, complete, balanced, and aligned, fully and completely walking in the divinity that they truly are, in the most benevolent way. That healing energy then flows through the generations and it passes on to each individual through the healing white light energies of forgiveness and love. And I send healing energy to the generations before Peter and Dicey Carroll. And whomever they may be, I send to you white light. I send you the energy of forgiveness. I send to you healing. For there is no time. Everything is happening at the same time. And within that, I send love, I send light, I send healing, I send wholeness, I send completeness, I send balance, all in the most benevolent way. How was that? Hey, Miss Andrea. Hey, Gossip Gigi. It is our intentions. It is our intentions. We are spiritual beings. We are divinity in physical form. As creators, as God's walking the earth in physical form, us as creators, let us heal. Let us heal one another. You can do this all the time. I also did this with each and every single one of my children. Go into meditation. Go into listening, sitting. And if you can face east when you're doing your morning meditations, great. Trust. You are creators. When I was saying I got to stay focused, I know I'm reading and it throws me off a little. I did this with my children. I imagined whether it was the moment I found out I was pregnant with them. If you can remember your moment when you found out you were pregnant, if you remember the moment you first held them, if you remember when you were pregnant and carrying your children, or if your memory is a moment of when you're first holding them, whatever it is, I send white light to every single one of my children in the most benevolent way from the beginnings of their lives, and I send healing. I send forgiveness, the desire to forgive, the desire to understand, the desire to be and remember the entirety of who they are on a spiritual being. The desire to forgive, knowing that we came here on a soul contract. We agreed to be with each other, to help develop each other, to be the challenge to each other, to be the support to one another, to help each and every single one of us grow. moving in the most benevolent way. I hope that was helpful. I hope you felt it. I hope you continue to practice that particular meditation of just sending white light to the roots of a situation before we even knew the why. Stand in love, stand in light, stand in the desire to forgive. Forgive yourself, forgive others. For within everything, it was your experience to be had for your benefit, for your growth. Now, I said that I was going to talk about how you're perfect and where you're at. You are not a mistake. Each and every life. Thank you, Miss Amy. Thank you. That was funny. Men can't remember to get pregnant. That was funny. Okay. When you first held your child, when you knew a child was coming, your first memory, whether it was the first time you knew that a child was coming and it was from you. Also within the white light that I sent, I said it this time to Dicey Carroll, but to Peter Carroll, I send white light to his seed. I send forgiveness to his seed. I send healing to his seed. That through the seeds that are planted through the generation, there is love, there is light, there is forgiveness, there is wholeness. Be the creators that you are. Within yourself, men, I send to you white light. Within your reproductive bodies, I send white light to your seeds. I send healing to your seeds. I send forgiveness to your seeds, all in the most benevolent way. Yes. Thank you for that statement. That was funny. No, you don't remember getting pregnant. Okay. So, anything else before I go on to the next of what I also learned? No? Okay. So, according to, and this is all for entertainment purposes only, take it, use it, don't take it, don't use it. Thank you for watching. Thank you for receiving a seed that one day could blossom into, this could be the beginning of something great, because we always move forward, we never move back. Okay, and an example of this will be through our lifetime. So per Edgar Cayce, all right, we all know, for those who do believe, that we reincarnate and we come into this life for the evolving of our soul. Now, from the book that I am reading, The Children of the Law of One and the Lost Teachings of Atlantis, this also ties into that. I was so guided to that book, and I'm going to stick with it, and I'm going to keep sharing this message about it. Now, according to Edgar Cayce, Jesus had incarnated upwards of 30 lives, 30 lifetimes, okay? Now, according to the book, and you've heard this before, some of you all have heard this before, on how we are a part of the second wave. The first wave of people that came to this earth in its carnation came in and with excitement and everything, and came in so hard and fell far enough to where the density caused forgetfulness of who we are on a spiritual level. So in the rescuing of our brothers and sisters came the second wave, and this person, Emilius, who was also spoken of, is known as the first Adam. Now, this isn't the same Adam that is spoken of in Adam and Eve, because according to the book, Adam and Eve, the story of Adam and Eve, is an allegory. Now, Emilius, this was Jesus's first incarnation. And in the attempt to rescue the fallen brothers and sisters, instead of coming to earth incarnating in the purpose of of saving them right where they are at. Jesus, in the first life form, Emilios, uh, said that we should create bodies that would be able to hold our divinity and be able to function, that we wouldn't fall in the lower consciousness and get lost once again. So in order to save, we then it was created the physical bodies, because initially it was half human, half animal, and that's why you can look all around the world and you have these mythologies whom there's half human, half animals. That was the first wave. Now, Emilius, which is known as the first Adam, he was also the one that they spoke of in the Bible, the sons of God. They were spoke of as the sons of God. And on a side note, when they speak of the Anunnakis, how some mythologies or whatever say the Anunnakis created us, well then that may be spliced in there somewhere. But however, through all of this, you can only just meditate and trust your inner being, which is your true guidance, which is your true teacher, which is the divinity that you are, okay? Just like it's spoken, the kingdom of heaven is within. There is nothing outside of you, okay? When we connect with the higher selves and all that kind of stuff, it is the higher aspect of who we are, or we are divinity. Okay, let's move on. So that was what Emilios did. Now, supposedly the second incarnation was Thoth. I believe it was his second, Thoth, and which Thoth, Thoth, was the one that led the Atlanteans out before the fall to Egypt, the land of Mu, which is now called Egypt, and they built the pyramids, okay? I feel, this is my conclusion, how I have come to of how they built them pyramids, was through being as element and matter manipulation. Air, fire, water, earth can be manipulated, and these things were taught and practiced and so forth. And I believe that these type of gifts and knowing and knowledge are going to be awakened, and we are going to begin to commonly see people manipulate matter, elements and so forth. So my personal what I've come to conclusion of how they built those pyramids, it was not only through air, levitation, manipulating matter, but they also manipulated the matter to make the stone light so that it can be lifted. And then in that manipulation, it also formed it and compressed it into bricks. That is my personal conclusion of what I have come up with, because there is not one archaeologic person that has said that they've able to find markings of carvings, how they carved the stones, nothing to framework for lifting, for hoisting. None of that has ever been found. Or so it's always been a how were they built. That's my conclusion. Now, moving on. So now these 5 lives that I'm going to speak of. Yes, I threw in Thoth, okay, but there are many other lives. We're going to focus on 5, okay? The next one we're going to focus on is Enoch, okay? The next incarnation for Jesus was Enoch. Now, Enoch was known as the one who walked with God and never died, all right? So I think that means like he enlightened and evolved, okay? Now there's the book of Enoch. So those of you can read it. All of this stuff, you can search all of this stuff for yourself. Just don't take my word from it. It's research and meditate within you and get your confirmations and so forth. Now, Enoch was humanity's first spiritual teacher, first one to put down spiritual principles. He was the first to written spiritual teachings. So, and it was being able to pass down. It's the one, what Enoch wrote was the foundation and guidelines for all future religions. Okay, it's like almost like it was like the first written type word. He took spiritual, what did he take? he was able to take, what is the word? Spiritual divinity, yes, divinity language and put it into written form. There you go. So the foundation of all religious teachings, and this stuff was confirmed also within the Dead Sea Scrolls. Now, even though Edgar Casey spoke of this, Dead Sea Scrolls were found in 1947 and he died in 1944. Of all this stuff that he spoke of, he died before this stuff was even found. Okay. Now, and he taught how to maintain divine consciousness within the physical bodies. And that's what we are doing, okay? We are learning how to raise our divine consciousness through our bodies. Now, as I speak on these 5 different incarnations of Jesus, keep in mind, each one builds upon the next one and prepares for the next life, okay? So the third one, number 3, was Melchizedek. Okay, in the Bible, there was Melchizedek. Now, Melchizedek was both, and this was a incarnation of Jesus. I'm speaking of a third one. Not necessarily in the order, but this is a third one that we're speaking of today. Now, he was both king and priest, okay? And he was the one that gave communion to Abraham, all right, which Jesus would then give communion to the Last Supper, all right, and then from that point communion then became a practice. Yet Jesus was the first one to give it, not in his Jesus's life, but in his Melchizedek life as king and priest. And in that life he had to learn to serve as both king and priest. He wrote, according to Edgar Casey, it was Melchizedek who actually wrote the book of Job, all right, and it spoke about human suffering and divine purpose. And in the book of Hebrews, Jesus was known as the high priest in the order of Melchizedek, all right? And Jesus had to return to complete what he started as Melchizedek. And I don't want to miss this. It was hold on. The first communion, he learned to balance spirituality. The School of the Prophets, which is in the Essene community, in which Jesus trained in, was with the Essenes. It was established by Melchizedek. And here's another thing that Edgar Casey says about Jesus as far as Mary. Mary, it wasn't a surprise. It wasn't a like, oh my gosh, I'm pregnant. Oh my gosh, there was an angel visiting me. According to Edgar Casey and according to the Essenes and so forth, Mary was trained since the age of 4 in the expectation of carrying the incarnation of Christ. And her body had to be prepared on a spiritual level, because think about it. What sense would it make to somebody who were to come in that had the consciousness of Christ and the divinity that he had and the abilities and so on and so forth, to be born into somebody who could not teach him, could not support him, would not be able to understand him? It makes zero sense as to somebody just to be surprised. She wasn't just a pious woman type thing. She was literally trained, okay? And so this is all according to Edgar Casey. Now, she was trained in that, and then Okay, now we're going to go on to the next one, which would be number 4, which was Joseph. Joseph, as in Egypt, the son of Jacob. Now, Joseph was the one that was sold by his brothers into slavery. He was thrown in a pit, left to die. Okay, and then he had, but he also had the gift of dream interpretation. He had psychic abilities. All right. Now, Joseph had 12 sons. So, Jacob had 12 sons. So Joseph would have been number 11th because Benjamin was the last. It was his 10 older brothers that sold him off to slavery. He was rejected by his own brothers, and Jesus was rejected from his own people. Jacob had 12 sons. Jesus had 12 disciples. In the life of Joseph, Joseph entered into Pharaoh's service at the age of 30. Jesus entered into his ministry at the age of 30. Joseph rose to become like the savior of Egypt during the 7 years of famine. And Jesus became the spiritual savior for humanity's spiritual famine. Okay, all of this is preparation. Each lifetime is a preparation for the next. That nothing is by accident at all. Nothing, nothing, nothing. Okay, and for those of you know me, I'm not like, I was raised with Christianity, but I'm not a Christian per se. I don't go to church. I believe there's truth within the Bible, but I also feel like there's a whole lot of manipulation. I believe that things have been taken out and removed. And once you have proof of one thing, and especially if you can have proof of more than one thing that was manipulated, changed, or removed from the Bible, even the book of Enoch, that was removed as well. If you have to question one thing, then you have to question all things. But when things come to you and you have factual about it, or close to as factual as you can get that really resonates within you, okay, well then you can be quicker to stand on that. She said over 400 times. Yes, here's one that was changed. You'll like this one. When it says, if somebody strikes you, you turn the other cheek. They took off the S. You turn the other's cheek. You get slapped. Well, you turn the other's cheek. Slap them back. Let's move on. Okay. All right. So the life of Joseph and the life of Jesus were parallel to the okay, Joseph could have used his own dream interpretations and his own gifts. He could have used it for his own personal gain, but he did not. He used it for the service of everyone, okay, for us all. Now, he didn't just have psychic, look, you guys, aren't you proud of me? I wrote down a whole lot of stuff. Oops, did I lose my place? A minute. Okay, so Joseph's brothers, he had to forgive his brothers for those who tried to kill him. He was about loving your enemies and forgiving those who persecute you. The same soul was learning this lifetime after lifetime on how to turn hatred into love through divine understanding. Isn't that cool? So Joseph's successive leadership through Egypt during the famine was preparing Jesus to lead humanity through their spiritual salvation through the bread of life and all that kind of stuff, how they word it and all that kind of stuff. And now here's what it connects everything. No, that didn't. Hold on. No, that, because we have one more. The last one was Joshua. The one that was with Moses. So Joshua was the intuitive spiritual. He was known as a warrior, a spiritual warrior, but he was also a spiritual scribe. He was the one that was writing down. He finished Moses's writing. He was the one that recorded Moses's death. Okay, and a lot of what they have in there for the battles, they were allegories, more or less, of spiritual um, how do you, soul's battle against material temptation and lower consciousness. All of these, and it was the way that Joshua listened and wrote down and did things, even if it didn't make any sense, it prepared Jesus. This is all according to Edgar Casey. It prepared Jesus for to say, not my will, but yours in the garden in Gethsemane. Because he was facing something and he was just trusting and believing in what he was feeling and knowing and what was coming to through his guidance and so forth, and just trusting. Okay, so when you put it all together, you have Emilius. He was the and Christ didn't. This is an example of, yes, everything is taught, Bible is taught that he's the Son of God. Okay, we're all the Son of God, daughter of God. We are all part of God. We are divinity, okay? So it's not like he was actual Son of God. And it's like, all right, everybody gather around. This is what we're going to do. He was somebody that just on a soul level was the one to do the guidance, and he had to develop himself through each lifetime. Okay, and each lifetime prepared him for the next one and the next one. Just like our days, everything we learn today prepares us for tomorrow. We don't ever go backwards, we always go forward. All right, now Emilios, he was the Christ soul that learned cosmic responsibility and how to guide spiritual evolution for all humanity, not just personal development, because it's not just about us, it's not just about you, it's about all of us. Okay, we are all going through everything that we are going through on this earth. We are all going through it. It is not just you, it is not just me. Okay, so it was for humanity. Now, Enoch, he learned how to translate divine wisdom into human language that could be preserved and transmitted across generations, right? And then the life of Melchizedek. He learned how to balance spiritual authority with humble service and how to be both king and priest. Jesus had to learn the same things, all right? Now with Joseph, he learned how to transform personal suffering into universal compassion. He could have stopped at, y'all throw me in the pit. But instead, he kept going. He could have stopped when he was bought to be somebody's servant. But no, he kept going. He stayed within what he knew was right and did right by the divinity that was within him. He didn't think just about himself. He thought about all, okay? How to have universal compassion and how to forgive the unforgivable. Can you imagine what it would feel like to have your own family members sell you off and leave you to die and so forth? Unforgivable, he forgave it. Okay. Now Joshua, he learned how to maintain perfect obedience to divine will, even in the midst of self-earthly conflict. Even though it didn't make any sense, I'm trusting what I'm doing is right. Even with me talking right now, I'm trusting that what I am doing is right. I'm sharing. We are all, use your own critical thinking, use your own noggin, listen to the divinity, because remember, that's your true teacher. The kingdom of heaven is within. God is within. Divinity is within you. All right. Now, so, and every soul goes through this, because later all of that was built upon, he needed all of that to fulfill the life that he had as Jesus. So do your own research, read it, study, meditate on it. But I found all of this information really, really great. Now I say to have proof as to show your life isn't a mistake. Your situation isn't a mistake. Everything that you are doing is in divine perfect order. Even when it comes to somebody whom you feel has persecuted you, and you have to have the put on your big boy pants and be the one to forgive, and so on and so forth. I got my fan. It's hot. It's humid. Um, so I hope you can't hear that little buzz. Um, Everything that you go through on a day-to-day basis, whether you feel like you're in a drought, whether you feel like, oh, I don't know what I should be doing, or am I walking my soul's purpose? I guarantee you are. And instead of saying in situations and crying about it, find the positive in it, because within that is your strength. Within that is your next morsel, your next crumb for what you do next. Everything has always tied itself together in your life. I look at my life today. I love who I am. I love everything about me. Now, did I start out like that? No. But have I worked myself to that? Yeah. And how did I do that? Partly by accepting how my life has been, what my upbringing was like, the people that were in my life, the situations that I occurred. Everything developed me into who I am today. And I love me. I love who I am. So I say thank you to my challenges. I say thank you. I stop short of just saying I welcome the challenges, because within that I'm stronger. Within the accepting on what this situation is. Okay, what am I to learn from this? What am I to learn not to do again? What am I to learn to do? What did I learn new? What did come to me that got confirmation, that I received confirmation from? Everything is tied in together. You are not an accident. Your steps are not an accident. It literally prepares you for tomorrow. So if you can find the joy in everything that you do, what did we say last time? What doesn't kill you make you stronger. We've all heard these sayings, but that is what I had to share with you today. I really, really, really hope you guys enjoyed it. I thought it was really great. Now, I will say this, even though I talked about these things, about the lives of Jesus, of 5, because remember, he had over 30, according to Edgar Casey. That's right. What doesn't kill you make you stronger. I think you were the one that said that the last time, Miss Andrea. So, what I spoke on, I'll be making an official video on it, so that I can make sure that I include every detail, because when I do lives, I can't promote the lives. I can't cut them into shorts or anything like that. So when I make a video off of those 5 lives, then I want to make sure that it's just right. So send me great energy. I hope you guys liked the meditation, the healing energy. Do it every day. Not only do I do it in my meditation times, I've been doing it as I've been going to sleep at night. Okay, Miss Amy. I'm so glad you done made your way up to the Highlands. Yes, remember, go back as far as you can. And somebody may say, well, I'm adopted. Okay, well, start with your adoptive parents, because that was a soul contract too. Your birth parents, like, instead of feeling like, oh, they didn't want me, or, whatever the case may be, it was a soul contract to bring you into this earth. Your parents did what they agreed to do. And then if you were adopted, well, then on a soul level, the adoptive parents agreed to raise you. So you are exactly where you are supposed to be. You are not a mistake. You are not forgotten. You are not a mishap. You are perfect divinity, walking in physical form, having a human experience, and evolving your soul on a conscious level. So I love you guys. I send you love and light, and let's end this together. Let's say it together. I am love. I am light. I am all that I am. And so are you. So until the next time, have the most benevolent day.